This is the Career Clinic Podcast, and I'm your host, Ronnie Dickerson Stewart. I've risen the corporate ranks, climbed the corporate ladder, and I've had a seat at the actual and the virtual table. I've even made some brave and career-defining pivots along the way. And as a person who's navigated the path from corporate intern to C-level executive, I've likely been in your exact seat. As a leader, a career educator, a certified coach, and simply put, as a sincere champion of people, I've served and engaged with literally thousands of individuals, from folks just entering the workforce to those who are leading and making their mark in the C-suite, all as they navigate the most common, the most significant, and even the most sticky and prickly career moments. And here, and in the time we get to share together, I hope to do the same with you. So, whether you're in a staying, a growing, a going, or even a glowing phase of your career, you can think of me as your coach, and this space is yours to help you flourish. Welcome to the Career Clinic Podcast. Now let's get started. This is the Career Clinic Podcast, and I'm your host, Ronnie Dickerson Stewart. As always, I am just pleased as punch that we get to spend a little time together. And it's been a minute since we have. I have intentionally taken the most beautiful, beautiful time to refresh and reset for what I know will be an amazing new season of the podcast. And that season is one that I've been so intentional about developing and so intentional about really taking the time to sit, reflect, and I say that in such a transparent way. For those of you all who have been listeners of this podcast or tuned into this podcast, you know we are always transparent when we have conversations about anything. I'm typically transparent. You typically hear me unfiltered, unless it's just a crazy day, there's some noise behind me or outside or something like that. You get the unfiltered version of whatever I'm doing, and this is that case. So what have I been up to? So much. In the past several months, I have launched new parts of my business. I have invited in new partners to coach, to teach, to support, and that has been thrilling and exciting. I launched a membership program called The Collective, and I'll drop links for anything I mentioned. The links will be in the show notes, but I launched a membership program called The Collective, and it has been something that was on my, let's call it, dream board to do for years, and it's come to fruition. And let me tell you, the membership program is just, I don't know, it gives me chills to think about it, because I get the pleasure of working with executives at a very specific level of their career where they're really in the middle. They're not necessarily new to the middle, but they're definitely in that middle between, they're not new to this, they are true to this, they have the lessons, the lesions, the bruises, and the beautiful moments that have come with designing a career. And now they have currencies, so that means they have choice to determine what happens next. And I get to be surrounded by them. They are just academics and authors, in addition to being full-time executives in some of the most fast-paced, high-power types of careers and companies in tech, in marketing, in PR, in advertising, in communications, and working in Fortune 500 brands. When we're together, we're focused on creating systems for greater life-work harmony. So understanding that to do the work they do, it requires a set of skills that allows them to self-sustain, so to focus on self-sustainability. Also, we talk about creating success on their terms versus adopting the terms of success that others have defined for them in their industries, which are in the middle of a complete renaissance. And I say renaissance because I've got Beyonce on the mind. Some people do. I'm a huge fan. Those who know me well. So I have renaissance on the mind, but I think our industries as a collective, anyone that's in the global economy, is enduring a renaissance because of the economic headwinds and tailwinds and all the things that are happening that are allowing people to rethink or requiring that they rethink how they go about work and business. These are folks in the midst of that, and then trying to show up for themselves, their families, the people they love. They have businesses and hobbies and other interests too. And they're doing that all in the midst of receiving an abundance of information and news and just opinions, even about how they should spend their time. It's fascinating because the topic of this episode is like, hey, kicking off the new year, but not in January, right? So I'm a person that's in that ecosystem too, just like you are. If you're listening to this, watching this, if you're on our YouTube channel, if you're listening to this on the podcast and I'm in your earbuds while you're doing any number of things, you are in the midst of the same ecosystem, and it requires being in this ecosystem requires you to really take whatever moments you can find, or better than that, define moments to actually sit, reflect, and decide how you want to go about doing all the things you're doing. And essentially, that's what I get to coach folks to do, in a profound way, in a way that's clarifying, in a way that creates just, it's paradigm shifting, in a way that gives them the tools, actual tools, to navigate what's to come in their career. But also, I find myself very transparently in the moment needing that too, but for different reasons, at a different level, and with a different frame. So someone like me who is an entrepreneur and a coach and a leader who's come from those ecosystems, frankly, I've had a lot of unlearning to do. A lot of unlearning to do about what it means to be a leader, about what it means to be a professional, about what it means to show up, about what it means to be a parent, about what it means to be a partner, about what it means to be a community servant on my terms. So in the course of, supporting others through that process when they're in their corporate spaces, because I've been there, I'm also now defining what that looks like as a leader in my business, as a coach, as a person who supports folks just like you watching or listening through these moments for themselves. And let me tell you, any great coach, any great leader is always going to be in a mindset or in a frame of just learning and understanding how to stretch themselves and understanding what they need to be doing to fill their cup so that they can go pour into others. And it's not a one-time thing. It's a thing that has to happen consciously and constantly. And there are seasons for that too. So to get into the details, because as I shared, we're always transparent here. My season, the last year, really the last year, has been a beautiful time personally, really, that has been extended to my professional life and into all the spaces I touch, including this space, which I love. We created the podcast back in 2019. And I say we because it's my assistant, my husband, my family agreed that this is absolutely a great way to spend time. And I have enjoyed the Career Clinic podcast since then. We always love when we can lap another year and look back and just look at the content that's developed and then just hear from people who said, I just look forward to the next episode. Someone texted me that actually recently, or they tagged me in a post that they put on Instagram highlighting the podcast and say, I always look forward to the next episode. And I was like, hint, 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 there's one coming. But because that's been such a good use of time, I also know that in order to deliver and to show up in the way that I want you for it, it requires that I take a step back and look around and understand what's most urgent for the people that I get to support and serve. How can I better support and serve? And then what do I want that to look like in a way that's provocative, that's net new, that's come from a known place? When you can be anywhere, you can get information from anyone, but what is the unique lens that people require in this moment that is extremely urgent as you consider not the future of work, but the now of work, but not just work, but life and that merger between the two. And that's what I've been doing. So back to the beautiful season of life. I've been taking the time away to actually just observe. So to be with clients, to be with myself, to listen, to read, to go through coursework, to understand a lot about the things that I've observed but want to validate through data or research, and things that I've experienced that I want to sort and to create into something that I can then deliver to you. And so I've taken the months to do that. And oh my goodness, if I could just, I'm looking through it now, like I have a notebook, for those listening, I have a notebook in my hand, but in my Remarkable tablet, again, I'm not sponsored by Remarkable, but I absolutely am a huge Remarkable fan. It's pages and pages and pages of guests that we are excited to bring onto the show this year. So their names then now coming to fruition with them agreeing to come and be on the podcast, as well as topics that are going to be for our solo episodes that you'll hear throughout the year. And so it's just this refreshed energy. On the more deeply personal side, we grew our family over the last, 6 or 7 months. So I have a new kiddo in the mix that actually haven't spoken about publicly at all. And I will in the coming weeks, but I'm a new mom. So I'm a mom of 3 now. And that third kiddo, let me tell you, that third kiddo is just having any children or even just loving kids if you're not a parent is it's revelatory. It's an experience. And so, I consider myself a seasoned mom only to a degree. I've only been a mom for about 7 years. So my oldest is only 7. And then my middle human is only 3. And then my newest human is new. And so that, from a personal standpoint, I've gotten to take a seat back to think about all of the things, work, life, harmony, in the context of this deeper season of parenthood, which has required that I test a lot of things about work and boundaries and how I want to show up to serve, what that looks like in some contexts from a hybrid standpoint, and then talking to other peers and parents who are on my side of the house, who are entrepreneurs, but actually spending a lot more time with folks who might be in the exact same shoes and seats that you're in, who are doing all of this and working in the context of a corporate seat and wanting to honor both of those responsibilities, meaning their work life and their life in a way that doesn't allow them to, or doesn't force them to erode pieces of themselves. And so that is what I've been up to. And so that is full transparency why I said, okay, pause on the podcast. Let me launch my community, which is thriving. Let me dig into some of my client relationships that are also thriving. And then let me nurture my beautiful growing family, and then do all that and nurture myself so I have a refreshed perspective, so that when I show up and so that when I serve, it's coming from a place that energetically is aligned with the outcomes that you and I both want, which is some type of shift in added value when it comes to your life, your career, your harmony, your career agency, and how you can better show up in the world. And through a lens of a person who's not new to this, I am incredibly true to this because, again, I've had the lessons, the blessings, the lesions, the lumps from having a career where I've climbed the ladder, and then I have taken that ladder and turned it into a bridge and walked across that. And then I've also put that ladder in the garage altogether and said, I can get over and through in other ways. And so I'm excited to be a part of this personal new season where I just feel so much great energy, but also this podcast new season, this place where I get to invite in more people into our community. So you may be watching this right now on our YouTube channel, which is net new. So all of our podcast episodes will go there. Or you might just be listening to me in the way that I listen to most things, which is in your ears on your podcast kind of streaming platform. And I love it. I just want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to support the people who I'm in community with, who said that I would love to hear and receive guidance and coaching from someone who's not just going into an AI tool and tapping at a prompt and then hoping that some wisdom comes out, and then they're getting on some platform and reading something that an AI tool told them. And this is no shade to AI, but I've seen and I know that those kind of habits are starting to exist where expertise is being microwaved and then shared with the masses, but lived experience, the test and learn of it all, the real life stories, the real transformational outcomes, the how we got there is not being shared enough. And I'm here for that. And that's part of the reason why I decided to step out of the formal corporate structure so that I can have more capacity to actually be able to share those things that folks like me who were sitting in that seat didn't always have the capacity to do because they're in the middle of like writing the story. So it's hard to stop and tell the story. And so on this podcast, you'll start to hear more of those stories where we're just getting to celebrate those individuals who are just doing the things that you want to hear about and that you want to know about by giving them the platform. So you'll hear more and see more of me turning over the mic to these individuals to give them the mic, because these are iconic people who I, adore for what they do in their personal lives that you may not see on a stage. You may not always see them in the front of a magazine cover, but they are iconic in that they have figured out the ways to best navigate systems that sometimes we encounter that lump us right over the head and then leave us in a traumatic situation, leave us harmed, or leave us in a situation where we have less than what we need or deserve. And that's really what this space is pivoting towards. We're already doing that, but it's about opening up that conversation and taking it to the next level. Like I said, extending the mic, and maybe even some of you all listening or watching are folks that we'll get to extend that mic to. And I'm excited about that. So welcome back. I missed you. Hope you missed me too. For those who are new listeners or watchers, you're already in the family. You're already in the community. I would love for you to go and listen back to some of our previous episodes so you can start to get the foundation of what we are about over in this side of the internet, or this side of YouTube, or your podcast streaming, platform, wherever you're listening. I want you to understand what we have come together as a community to agree on in terms of the things that we're sorting and considering as we navigate this thing called life and work. That's what we're about. So I won't keep you here too long. We're here for a good time, but not a long time. And I'm going to leave you with a couple of actions that I want you to take. The first of which is this. If you're not already on our Insiders, our Oh Hey Coach Insiders newsletter list, which is a list that I have, and it's not a spam list. It's a very, very straightforward, easy breezy, lemon squeezy kind of list where I just slide into your inbox throughout the week, usually on Mondays, with our Oh Hey Monday note, just to get your week off to a great start. I want you to join our newsletter list. That's the way you're going to hear about all the great things before anybody else that are happening in my side of the world, whether that's coaching, whether that's working in your organizations through our corporate offering, whether that's events, whether that's me showing up someplace on a stage, whether that's giveaways. You're going to hear about it first and foremost. Even before you hear about it here, you're going to hear about it within our newsletter, in our insiders list. So if you go into the notes of this show, there's a link, and the link is ohheyjoin.com, ohheyjoin.com, and that will add you to our list. And we go together right then. We go together real bad when you join that list. The other thing that I would love for you to do is to follow me on YouTube and subscribe to YouTube, our YouTube channel. That's net new for us. So subscribe there and follow the podcast, or subscribe to the podcast on your platforms that you're streaming. Just make sure that you're getting this in your podcast player, and you're getting this, an alert for this anytime we have a new show. But beyond that, I would love for you to leave a review. When you leave a review, and hopefully it's a good review, but no pressure, be honest, we believe in transparency. But when you leave a review, that's how others discover our podcast. That's how others discover the show. And that's how we build our community with the types of folks that agree that you can have life work harmony. The types of folks that agree that you can have agency over your career. The types of folks that agree that you can have success on your terms without eroding your integrity, without eroding your boundaries, and in a way that gets you the things that you hope to have and the things that you deserve to live the life you want, right? That sounds like a big promise, but those are very practical things. And those are the things that we sort and discuss here. So subscribe, leave a review, do all the things. And I can't wait to be in community with you. Let's get into it. And again, welcome to the Career Clinic podcast, and welcome to our crew. And thanks for joining. And I cannot wait to speak to you next time. Talk soon.